Meeting to order for the presentation of the budget and the town warrant articles, but before we do that, we're going to start with Frank Fraser and the Cable Committee.
Great, thank you very much for having me come in early. The Cable Committee met last week, and we have a request for the selectmen. I'll just have a copy here for Clifton. There's a copy for the secretary. We're asking for two things. One is, first, we asked that the selectmen appoint a new member of the Cable Committee, which is good, and that would be Mr. Rich Zacher, who put his hand up in the air at the meeting, which is good. So that's the first thing we're asking for. The second thing is, we realize that when we have discussions about cable and cable service in town and what areas of town are not being served, we always talk about other options for residents in town getting things like high-speed internet access through DSL and things like that. So the second thing we're requesting there is the selectmen consider expanding the purview of the Cable Committee to encompass other telecommunication issues so that we can do things like talk to My Fairpoint as representatives of town to say, you know, hey, can we get better DSL service in town? And other technologies as it become available. There are new broadband technologies happening all the time. We're very willing to try and keep up with that and how we can get better service, especially the more northern parts of our town. They're too far away right now to get DSL, and maybe not be on the cable, you know, that didn't get the latest cable extension in along Stoneham Road. We'd like to see if we can't do better for Brookfield residents in doing that. So we're asking that the selectmen consider, and we don't need an answer tonight, I'm just bringing this up so it's there. The selectmen consider that. We don't want to do it unless we have the selectmen's okay, because right now we're the Cable Committee, so we're keeping our focus on cable. But we'd actually, if you decide that that is a good idea, we actually might want to change the name of the Cable Committee. I suggested Cable/Telecommunications Committee, so that we can pursue that. We did get a map from Time Warner showing us what areas they're now serving, which was a big step forward. It only took about a year to get a map out of them. They have acknowledged publicly that our contract has expired and that we're running on this so-called extension, and they're going to get us a new draft contract for us to look at, although that unless it came in the mail today, Bill.
I didn't look.
No, so it has not come yet, so we need to politely ask our representative at Time Warner, bug him again for that. So we are in negotiation, at least they're talking now, which is a step forward for us, we probably don't anticipate them doing any additional build out in town based on, you know, past factors. We could always be surprised, but we think that the extension they just did on Stoneham and on Liebert Road is probably what we're going to see for a while. That's why we'd like to see if we can explore some other options to get at least high-speed internet service to potentially more homes in town. So that's it.
That's two excellent suggestions. And when we come to the Cable Commission later in our agenda, we will act on them at that time.
That sounds good. The third one I forgot.
Gives Clifton a chance to get briefed in on it as well.
A third one I forgot. Well, Bill's very versed in it. Bill was at our meeting, so as selectman's rep to the Cable Committee. So he can, if I'm not here, he can fill in on that. It'd be great if we could get a file drawer, because I've got some stuff at home, and we've got stuff in the selectman's file, and we've got some stuff kind of hidden away around here. It'd be great if we could have a file drawer also, or part of it. We only need, you know, a couple of inches. We don't have that much stuff, but it'd be great if we had a place to keep Cable Committee records in the town filing system. That was the third thing I forgot to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yep.
When we come to the Cable Committee later, we'll go into this. I'll add this to my stack of things for later. And I think Clifton just drove in, so I'm going to give him the courtesy of waiting a couple minutes here. But yeah, all those notes are late. Oh, weird winter. Perfect timing, Clifton.
Sorry, I'm late.
You're on.
What am I on for?
Well, you brought your water, we knew you'd be busy.
I didn't do it.
And the only thing I know on the budget is we need to add the $25 for the excavation tax. Yeah.
Okay.
And beyond that, it's pretty much the same as the last time we met, except we made one adjustment based on the input from that meeting, I believe, on the monies for the treasurer.
Okay. So everything else is pretty much the same?
Yeah, it should be.
All right. At this point then, we'll go through the budget one more time, line item by line item. If there's any questions, please let me know. Starting on page 1 of 7, we'll just go through all the revenues. Are there any questions with the revenue section?
Other than the $25, we're moving over to the proposed for 12. Instead of 0, that should be 25.
On 3187.
Right.
Okay.
You just want $25 proposed for
That's for revenue.
2011.
Yeah, excavation tax
For
revenue.
proposed for 12.
Yes, Frank.
I noticed that from our last meeting that the block grant has gone down from $32,361 to $28,650. Is that a new number from the state?
The block grant was, yes.
Yes, that's.
We had a letter stating that that's what our 2012 monies would be.
Great, so we now know that's
We
the,
now
that's
know
the hard
that's the
number.
number.
Good,
Yeah.
that's good.
All right. The rest of the revenues on page 2 of 7.
So that total revenue should be,
$240,930.
Good.
All right. Hearing no more questions on that, we'll go to the next section. We'll start in the expenses, and we'll start with general government. Projected revenues, proposed revenues for 2012 will be $28,316.
I did on 2 line items in this category, 4130-102, the board secretary salary. I did make a note of the reason for the overage in the budget was the change in personnel during the year. And also on the 4130-350, the town contracts IT, that 5833 number does include $3,500 that was spent during 2011 to virtual town hall.
Okay.
So that you can see why you have the overage there.
Hearing no questions on that section, we'll go to the next section, elections, registrations, and vital statistics. No questions there. The next section is financial administration. Frank.
Just in case there are people here that weren't here last time, on the workers' compensation line, the budget from last time had a note that we're going to write an appeal letter on that'd be line item, that'd be item 4170.200, the 1409, that we're going to actually appeal that and try and get that number down.
I wrote a letter, I was looking back at my notes, Frank, I wrote a letter in November, so I'm going to follow up with them this week. We've gotten another bill indicating the higher amount, so So I'm gonna follow up with her and give her a call this week and see what they're saying about.
So we're gonna
in
budget
response to
for
my
the
letter.
worst case, but we're gonna try and actually reduce that through
Correct.
the appeal process.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if nothing else, we may be looking for a new workman's compensation carrier.
4154-100. Under proposed, that should be 350. The warrant article would be increasing it to
That should
450.
be. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, which number was that underneath?
4154.100, salary of the trustees of the trust funds, should actually be 350. With a warrant article, we're proposing an extra $100.
Which one did you say?
Right here.
4154.
That should be 350, not 450.
Oh, okay, in the
Because
100.
it's current.
And the 100, yeah, is part,
Standard
is the warrant. Yes, sir, you got a question?
Yeah, any explanation on the 4152, 350 assessor contract with Avatar? I see it's going up to over 9,000.
Yes, this is our third year, and in the contract, there's an increase in the third year and in the fifth year due to the amount of assessing that they have to do. They have to do a, what do they call that? A preliminary evaluation where they're going to look at a percentage of the town to see if we have to do a full-blown at that point or not. We did it in the last contract with them as well. The third year went up a little bit, and then the fifth year, where we do the full-blown reevaluation, is where the most of the money's at.
I assume this $1,500 is being charged to us because they assess the utility codes, is that correct?
Yes. And we had to pay
Is that
that.
going to court? I mean, are we disputing that?
Yes.
Isn't the state, didn't you say the state?
It's actually at the
It's at the state level.
state
but
level at
There
this
is a
point.
legal dispute ongoing, and we're hoping,
The actual utility companies are disputing that tax. So, if the utility companies win, they'll reverse it, and then we should get the $1,500 back.
Okay.
But if they don't reverse it, then we had to pay the $1,500.
But we did get substantial revenue because of that assessment.
Yes.
correct? So we don't want it reversed. We'll pay it in electric bills, okay?
Yeah, we're going to pay it one way or the other.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on that page? Hearing none, we'll go to the next page. Reevaluation of property. That's just $1 to hold that line item open. Legal expenses. We've already touched on the personal administration section where we discussed the increase of the workman's compensation, where it went from $620 to $1,404, and we are disputing that and appealing that new charge. Planning and zoning. General government buildings.
Question on,
Yes.
Back to planning and zoning.
Okay, go ahead.
Dues and workshop, is that because we didn't pay our dues to Stratford Regional?
Dues
Or
and
we don't
workshop.
intend to?
Oh, the 1250?
Yeah, 1250 knocked down to 462.
Yes.
yes.
The planning board made a decision as a board to not pay those fees, and therefore they didn't. We are still a member of Planning Regional, or Stratford Regional Planning Commission, because by law we have to belong to one. But we don't pay the dues, and therefore we are not eligible for any of the services that they provide beyond that, unless we pay for them.
Thank you.
Mr. Nason, you got a,
No, we get services, but we don't get the deluxe package. We get
Okay.
basic.
Blank
package.
blank maps?
We get big pieces of paper going on.
is that like basic cable versus the whole movie channel thing? All right.
We have the non-paying
Yeah, it's a good
member
question.
package.
Yeah, cool.
Yes, Ed?
I just wanted to make, an announcement that those Stratford Regional Planning Commission meetings can be watched on my website with the tab Stratford Regional Planning, if anybody cares to see how the meetings run. Thank you.
All right, back down to general government buildings. Any questions? Concerns?
I'll correct my crazy percentages.
The 56,000 one? That's a good one. $561 for internet?
So what I put there was the expense for the email, setting up the email account for the town, tied to the town website. It did not go under
IT.
IT, it went here, because we really need to start getting the expenses for that more as a utility than as a.
Okay. Town-owned properties went down to 1. Town cemetery, there's an increase of $900 to that line item, and that is due to the cemetery. The trustees of the cemetery are looking to put up iron gates on the cemetery, which are required by law, I understand.
We have a story to go with that, if you have a minute.
I got all night.
I called Nancy Whittemore and asked her if she knew anything about the cemetery gate, and she said no. Jim had never said anything to her about it. But a couple of days later, she called me. She talked to her son, and he said, yeah, it's right here. And so the town cemetery gate is back among the known locations and is going to be, I gather, reinstalled at some point in time. Do we need to modify their budget because of that, since we no longer need to spend $700 on a new gate?
Will it need some work, painting or whatever?
I believe it's not a gate per se. I believe it's iron pipe that goes through there's holes in the granite abutments to take the iron pipe. That was, I think, the method. It might be a gate. I never saw it. Jim had removed it before I started maintaining the cemetery, but it could be just simply iron pipe, which is perfectly acceptable and historically correct, because that's what it was used for, as a good practical solution to that.
I'd like to have a look at it, so I don't know what to do with these numbers.
Okay, we can.
And where, the 1,200 for the trees, I'm still not sure where that,
See, if you look,
has that already been paid?
yes, it's been paid and it's in 2011. See how the first column is what was proposed for 2011, the second column, actual, there's an expense of $1,436. Wasn't it 1,200 for the trees? I'm thinking.
Yes.
I may make a suggestion that we leave it in tonight, because it's not a huge number, and that if the cemetery trustees determine that the now found historic gate is going to be adequate, then they can make a motion at town meeting to reduce this budget. They can amend the budget at town meeting to reduce this number.
Good idea.
Is that okay with you guys?
Because the pipe may be of historical nature.
Yeah?
Historical
Well, it's
pipe.
old.
Could you explain why the town-owned properties was reduced so drastically?
Because we don't own any town-owned properties other than the townhouse, the lot down there on the railroad tracks.
So
And
at one point, we must have.
We did.
we did last year.
Oh, But that happened since the town meeting, right?
No, that was actually 2010. At the end of 2010, we took over that property, and it was repurchased and reconveyed over
That's
to
what I'm
them
looking for.
this year.
Why was it reduced? Because it was redeemed
Yeah,
Yes.
by the owner,
by the bank.
by the bank? Okay.
If you look at the income, Dick, on page 2, account number 3901 towards the top, repurchase of conveyed property. We got the money for it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. All right, insurance, regional associations, and other governments, other general governments. Other general government includes archival, record processing, archival supplies, contingency, and scholastic recognition. Any questions there? Hearing none. Public safety. Fire, police, and ambulance. It went up just under $3,000. Not too bad. Forestry.
Decreased.
Yep. CEO and building inspections. Emergency management. Highway and streets. Sanitation. Sanitation actually went down. Health agencies. Welfare, direct assistance, and vendor payments and other. Culture and recreation, which includes parks and recreation, library, patriotic purposes, agricultural commission, heritage fund, heritage commission expenses, right, conservation commission, we're on the last page, page 7 of 7. Conservation Trust Fund. All right, that brings us to the subtotal of the operating budget without warrant articles, which is, we've adjusted, right?
608,587.
608,587.
We need to bring it down because of that.
I did.
By $200. Which is a decrease in our operating budget without warrant articles of about just a little over $20,000. We've cut the budget and streamlined. Okay, moving on to capital outlay. Repairs of the town roads. Transfer to capital reserves, road and bridge repair, scholastic fund, and town cemetery. Yes.
Just to point out, we went over it last time, but on the road and bridge repair, we're proposing to, last year we only put 50,000 back into it. This year we're going to put 75 into it to give it a little more oomph again.
Yep.
Give us a little more cushion. Okay.
That was something I told the road committee last year that we would do.
Yeah. Okay.
Transfer to expendable trusts, which is building maintenance and grounds fund and office equipment and the reevaluation fund. All right. Total appropriations, which include the warrant articles.
761937.
937?
Yes,
761937.
yes.
About 12,000. Give or take.
That's not, there are warrants that are still missing, that are not included in that figure. The increase in the treasurer's salary is not included in that for the warrant.
Yeah.
I just noticed that. Okay.
And also the $100 for the...
Yes, it is included.
Where's that at?
Well, it's included in my total number.
Okay, so it's included in your, it's just not on here?
Right.
Yeah, we would need to put the $100 for the trustees of the
Yeah,
trust funds
I did.
on there.
I made that adjustment as well.
Yeah, it's in there, it just isn't listed there.
Right.
Okay. So then that would be our new proposed total budget, which includes our warrant articles of $761,937, which is a decrease of about 12,000, give or take a few pennies or dollars.
Warrant Article 5, it's the reserve fund, 65,000, it says 60,000 on the budget. Is that,
It should be
am I reading
60.
wrong?
Which one is that?
Number 5.
It should be 65. We changed it at the meeting last meeting.
All right.
So that's the capital,
That's repairs of town roads, capital outlay, 4904.500.
That's supposed to be 65.
65,000, that's right. I did cave in on that, didn't I?
you did. So that brings it to 766,937. Thank you, Tom.
Any questions on the budget? Any concerns? Hearing none,
Good job. Thank you, gentlemen.
I turn it back over to you.
Okay. Let me just get, would you pass me a copy of the warrant articles? I've got it somewhere in the stack. At this time, I'll go over the warrant articles. There's really not a lot that's controversial in here this year. I suspect the town moderator will be very appreciative of this list of warrant articles. Very quickly, the first one obviously is to choose all town officers, and I would remind everybody that the sign-up period for the positions that are open starts Wednesday, tomorrow the 25th, and runs through the 2nd of February. Article 2 is $500 to the Capital Reserve Fund for the Scholastic Recognition Award Fund, and that has been what we have been traditionally doing. Number 3 is $1,000 to be added to the expendable trust fund known as the Town Building Office Equipment Fund. Again, we've been fortunate. We've got a lot of new electronic equipment, and we have had very few problems, but if things come up, sometimes they can be expensive fast. Number 4 is $5,000 to be added to the expendable trust fund known as the Town Building and Grounds Maintenance Fund. Again, we're continuing to build up that fund to cover what we know are going to be expenses in the townhouse as well as here as they occur. Number 5 is the one Clifton agreed to to ask for $65,000